This is how your photos will look after watching this video. I've been shooting with only my iPhone for 10 years now, and in this video I'll teach you framing, composition, colors, how to take portraits, macro shots, and even astrophotography, no matter the iPhone you're using. I'll make you a pro. Composition and framing are the two things that make or break the photo, but most people think that composition is complicated. It's not. It's actually pretty simple rules, and once you know them, you see them everywhere. To make framing easier, make sure you have grid and level turned on in settings. This is a second video in my series, and in the first one we went over all the basics you need to take great photos. Watch that one for even better shots. The most important rule is the rule of thirds. See these lines in your camera? Two horizontal ones and two vertical lines. They divide your frame into 9 sections. The rule of thirds says put your subject on one of those lines, not in the middle, best at the intersection of two lines. But why does this work? Because humans don't find centered objects very interesting, unless there is a symmetry. Another thing about this rule most people overlook is proportions. To make shots visually interesting, try to fill these thirds with stuff. For example, like this, or like this, or like this. This little imbalance helps create dynamics in the shot. And we're gonna use this rule for all types of shots, macros, portraits, zoom shots. I use it literally every single time I shoot, especially when I zoom into stuff. Zoom lenses are my favorites, and with proper framing, the shots you can get can be fantastic. And I use the old 15 Pro for most of these shots. A slightly trickier rule is leading lines. A leading line is usually any line in your image that guides the viewer's eye to the subject. It can be a road disappearing into the distance, a sand dune, a pier, anything that creates a sense of direction. And it doesn't even have to be a straight line. These lines create a path through your image. They take a random scene and give it direction and purpose. There doesn't even have to be anything at the end of your leading lines, but if there is, the shot instantly gets better. This rule is especially effective with zoom shots. Tighter framing means you're more selective about what's in your shot, so leading lines become even more important. Another one of my favorite tricks is framing. Basically, it's shooting through stuff. It can be a window with something cool behind it, or a corner of a building like here. Basically, you use other objects to frame your subject in the shot. Like here, palm trees frame the boat in the distance. These frames inside the shot tighten it even more, help focus the attention on what really matters. But they also make shots more visually interesting, because most people try to avoid any obstructions in their photos. Look, I'll put my hand like this, and now you'll notice the call out for a subscription. Like this video and leave a comment. This would really help the algorithm push my videos. Okay, this next rule is not for everyone, but patterns. I love patterns, and I love contrasty stuff. So if I see a bunch of neatly arranged identical objects, I'm shooting that. Like these masks from Venice or fans from Madrid. I can show you examples of such shots forever, and it doesn't have to be a perfect or neat pattern. It can be a chaos that looks like a pattern, like these things hanging from the ceiling, for example. I'm not saying these shots belong in the art gallery, but these shots make your photos less boring and put joy back into photography. But the easiest trick to master is symmetry. You just look for symmetrical stuff and put it dead center. Super easy. Corners of buildings, trees, street photos, very simple shots, but can be very effective if the symmetry has some imperfections. Like in this shot, if both sides of the building were identical, it would have been a boring shot. But there are small irregularities, like wabi-sabi. And another version of symmetry for me is division, when a shot gets divided between objects. It can be this photo of a beach. The city and the beach take roughly half the shot each, but the uneven beach line makes the shot interesting. Or it can be a photo of fruits at the market. This shot actually works on two levels, division and patterns. You see repeated elements that collide with each other. And shots like this make pretty sick wallpapers too. Just make sure to find conflicts between elements that are mild. You don't want to combine different dynamics. They have to complement each other in their differences, if that makes sense. There are dozens of other tricks I use to make my photos nicer. But what you absolutely have to learn is that your shots must have background and foreground. Think about this when framing the shot. Is there something interesting behind your subject, or is it just a wall? Can you move so that the background adds to the story instead of distracting from it? Can you position your subject so they're framed against the background? And here's the thing about background. Sometimes what's behind your subject is more interesting than the subject itself. Works wonders in portrait shots. Sometimes you want the background to be sharp and clear, like here. Sometimes you want it blurred and minimal, isolating your subject. All the best shots have depth. They have something in the foreground, something in the middle ground, and something in the background, multiple layers. This keeps photos from feeling flat, it gives them dimension. Instead of just shooting a building, find some abstraction to put in front of it. It can be flowers, grass, a cup of coffee on the table, anything. Zoom cameras are the best for these shots, thanks to their compression. But we'll go over the zoom cameras a bit later. Not all phones have them, and digital zoom works a bit differently. But even on an old iPhone you can take great shots. I made a video about iPhone 13 recently where I talked about its cameras and what it can do, so click here to check it out. If you learn these basic framing tricks, your photos will get 10 times better easily. And like I said, they all work for portraits too, and portrait mode can be tricky. What portrait mode does is apply a blur effect to simulate what a large sensor camera does with shallow depth of field. You get your subject sharp and everything else soft and blurry. It's a really specific aesthetic, and when it works great. Here's how I use it. First, the zoom lenses give you that nice compression. Don't use the 1x unless you have no space to take a step back. 2x is perfect actually. All new iPhones have 2x now. Second, the more light you have, the better. Don't shoot portraits against the sun. You'll get weird colors and no details in the face. Always try facing so that the light directly hits your face, or at least hits 3/4 of your face. And try to avoid colorful lights like street signs. They somewhat confuse the phone and the faces end up looking weird. Strive for even light. And of course, you can be in the shadows or have shadows on your face. As long as there is enough light, you're golden. Oh, and if you're outside during the golden hour, shoot a few portraits. You'll thank me later. The colors you get are just surreal. Third, understanding the depth slider. When you take a portrait, you can adjust how much blur is applied, and you can adjust it in post, so no need to stress while shooting. And your phone does a pretty good job by itself, thanks to the LiDAR on the back. Just make sure that when you adjust your depth of field, you aren't overdoing it. Objects close to the camera can't be too blurry, and objects far away can't be too sharp. And obviously all the stuff I said in the first video about exposure still applies here. Have it slightly lowered in the camera settings, and then lower it a bit more while shooting. But my favorite thing is portrait lighting effects. There are a bunch of them here, but you only need the first 3. Natural light is the default one. Studio light brightens the faces, almost whitewashes them. And contour light makes the people pop. It works great for people and monkeys and pretty much any object you shoot. Now, the macro mode. This is not my favorite mode. I rarely take macro shots. But here's when I use it. When I want to show details and I'm in good light. Flowers, textures, intricate patterns, close-up details of bigger objects. Macro mode is great for exploration. It makes you notice things you normally walk past. If you have macro on your phone, it should switch to macro lens automatically when you bring the phone close to the subject. You should see this flower icon appear. Now all that's left is get as close to your subject as your phone can focus and shoot. If you don't have enough light, turn on the flash and try to keep your hands extra steady. In this mode, focus can be quite unpredictable. So if you can, use a tripod. I wouldn't say there are that many framing techniques for macro shots. Just put the subject in the center and that's it. The simpler the approach, the better. Now to my favorite part, zoom cameras. It's the best camera mode you can have. Before I had a zoom lens, my photos looked like this. And here are the shots from 2017 and my iPhone 10, night and day. And it was just a poor 2x lens. Obviously all the framing rules still apply here. So what I want you to remember is that you have to be really careful how far you zoom. On my 15 Pro I can comfortably zoom up to 5x without losing quality. If you have an iPhone with the 5x camera, you can go up to 10x with minimal quality drop. And if you have the latest one with the 4x and 8x, you can go up to 15x and still get great shots. I'll make a video about the new zoom cameras as soon as I scrape enough coins to buy the new iPhone. So if you want to support my channel, any donation makes a difference. The link's in the description. I'll include the names of my biggest contributors in the next video. Thanks guys, much appreciated. Another thing to remember about zoom cameras, use the built-in additional camera modes. Yep, the one you see when you tap on 1x. These modes don't give a huge jump in zoom, but produce 24 megapixel shots. Oh, and my personal favorite, make sure your phone switches to the zoom camera at night. Sometimes when there's not enough light, the phone will try to use the main sensor, and even at 3x it gives terrible results. A 3x from a dedicated camera looks so much nicer. Now, the part you've all been waiting for, astrophotography. Most people think astrophotography requires some crazy setup. Look at these shots. shots. No editing was done, straight out of the iPhone. There is no dedicated astrophotography mode on an iPhone, but you can use the night mode. Tap on photo and keep tapping the night mode icon until you see 10 in it. We actually need 30, so you'll have to stabilize the phone. And before you set up the phone for shooting, you need low light pollution. And in camera, make sure you switched to RAW in the highest resolution you have. You need all the quality you can get. When the iPhone is on a stable surface, the night mode bumps up to 30 seconds instead of 10, and once you see the magic number, shoot. No need to focus manually, adjust settings, just point and shoot. And if you are creative and have a small light source on you, you can create photos like this. Just start shooting and move around with the light source. So we've covered the settings, the lenses, the composition rules, the camera modes, astrophotography. That's a lot of ground. All that's left now is to practice all this knowledge. Photography is learned by doing, not by watching videos about it. But I'm glad you watched this, because now you have a map of what to work on. Like this video if it actually explains something useful. Comment below if you have questions or you disagree with me. And subscribe so that you don't miss the next video, where I'm gonna teach you how to shoot RAW and how to edit RAW images to make them look professional.